Hey, y'all, what's going on? Happy Thursday to you. I just wanted to come on here and just tell you all a quick story. And this story is about me. So, when I was 18 years old, by this time I was a mother of a toddler, and I had my daughter at 17. And prior to me turning 18, everything was fine, I thought. Everything was going well. I'm learning how to be a new mom. Yet I had some challenging moments. I had some ups and downs. I'm still trying to figure out life. I'm still trying to figure out if I can do this or not. Am I going to be a good mother? So all of these things were going through my mind. And when I turned 18 years old, my daughter at this moment, at this time, she had just turned 13 months old. And so this one particular morning, I woke up and I could not move my hands. And this had been going on for a few days. I could not move my hands. My hands were like in this frozen state, and it looked like claws. And I didn't tell my parents immediately. I just figured that it was nothing, that it will go away. Maybe my body is tired. I'm adjusting to this new life as a mom. I'm not getting any sleep at night. I'm dealing with a baby that's adjusting, or a toddler that's adjusting to life herself. And so I would try to just, massage my hands, and it would take me a while. And I dealt with morning stiffness, but I still didn't understand why I was going through this. But so by this time, 3 days had passed, and it happened every day for the last 3 days in the mornings, only in the mornings. So it would take me hours to just become unstiff and to get myself together. Then I realized that when I would get my daughter ready for daycare, it was difficult for me to put her clothes on. It was difficult for me to, pick her up. It was difficult for me to put her shoes on. And it was also difficult for me to put my clothes on, to do the things like the daily living activities that a person does for themselves on a daily basis. It was hard for me to do those things. It was hard for me to use the bathroom. It was hard for me to wipe myself. It was just hard for me to do a lot of things. So finally, I thought to myself, well, let me just go ahead and tell my mom and dad what's been going on with me, because they would ask me, like later on in the afternoon, they would see me moving slow, and they would ask me, well, Tasha, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you moving so slow? It shouldn't take you this long to, come down the stairs, or come and get in the car, or, come in the front room when I'm calling you. And I'm like, Mom, I'm all right. Or Dad, I'm okay. I would just kind of play it off and kind of shrug it off. So as the days went on, and I finally told my mom and dad that I was waking up for the last 3 days, and my hands would be in this claw position, just stiff, and my body was hurting. I had pains in my bodies that I could not really describe. All I knew was that it was terrible. It was really bad. And I mean, really, really bad. It hurt. It's like sharp pains. And sometimes they were dull. My knuckles, they were warm. They were, kind of hot to the touch, and they were really red. And so when I told my mom and dad, they was like, okay, that don't sound like something that's, just going to go away easily. So they made me an appointment to go to the doctor, and I went to go see my doctor, and they ran some tests, and immediately they thought about, oh, it's lupus. And when I was telling them my symptoms, they just automatically thought that it's lupus, because, it can, lupus is this and lupus is that, but it also deals with your organs and all. I mean, I just went through the ringer with all of these tests. And then I went through something where my mom and dad really couldn't, it's like their hands were tied because of the system and society, and because I was a mother and I had my own child at that moment, and I was on a different healthcare system than they were, so they really couldn't do too much for me. But they were there in support for me as I went through all of these doctors and these tests and these therapies and these medicines. But I tell you that story to tell you that, to help you to understand that when you are going through an ailment, it may not be a physical ailment that you are dealing with. It could be a spiritual ailment. It could be an emotional ailment. It could be a mental ailment. But it's something that is trying to attach itself to your life, and it's trying to bring you down and keep you in depression. Because when I was going through rheumatoid arthritis, when they finally figured out that it was rheumatoid arthritis and not lupus, I went into a depression. I literally wanted to sleep my life away. I just wanted to sleep, 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 because I didn't want to have to go through this. I'm 18 years old, and I thought I had my whole life ahead of me, and I can do this and I can do that. And I felt like this ease was taking things away from me that I wanted to do. But one thing that I realized as I began to be on my journey is that God is always with me. And so when I finally got an appointment to see my primary doctor, scheduled me and referred me to a specialist. So when I went to my specialist, and then they did their test because they have to confirm what my primary doctor had told me what it was. So they wanted to confirm because they are the specialists. So they went through all of these blood works, all of this lab, all of this stuff, all of these exams that I had to take, x-rays and bone density scans and all this stuff. So I went through all of this. And when my doctor confirmed, my specialist told me, and he confirmed that yes, it's rheumatoid arthritis, and your case is unusual. I've never had a patient this at your age, this young, to have the case that you have. He told me that my case was so severe that my body was the body of a 90-year-old person. So my response was, well, I didn't come in this world with this disease, and I'm definitely not going to die with it. And I immediately said, I don't want to take all this medicine. But then, me not really knowing, I still went through all of the medicines and the therapies that they suggested and recommended for me to take. So even with me going through all of that, there was a purpose and a plan that God has in mind for me still. Even at this point in my late 40s, still dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, with my hands completely like this. And my hands that started deforming until 2007. And I wanted to share this with you to let you know that, going back to the ailments, if you have a emotional, mental, spiritual, or even a physical ailment, don't allow that to stop you, because I can tell you right now, God has a plan and a purpose for your ailment. He definitely does. And I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about the fact, and I didn't want to share with anybody. And at the same time, I was saying that I'm not ashamed of this. I'm not embarrassed by this. When in reality, I was ashamed of being that young and having a disease that I thought was only for old people. So now that I am at this point in my life, God is helping me to embrace this disease, this physical ailment that is very visible and people can see it. And I was so self-conscious about my hands. And I'm like, God, I don't want nobody looking at my hands, and because I talk a lot with my hands. And I'm like, that's the first thing that people gonna see is my hands. Lord, y'all, my eyes is, excuse me. But I just realized that God has me in this position and in this space for a reason. And with all of the things that I have experienced in my life, God has made it so to where I am doing what He has called and chosen me to do. Even with this physical ailment, God has a plan. Even with me going through domestic abuse, God had a plan. Even with me experiencing teenage pregnancy, God had a plan. Even with me sleeping and with men before I got married, to men that I was not dating, or just situationships, God had a plan for all of that. So I just wanted to encourage somebody out there to let you know, whatever it is, whatever ailment that you are dealing with, know that God has a plan. He's going to make it so to where when you start talking about it and stop shielding it and stop concealing it, because whether it's visible or invisible, God still sees it, even though, because He's God. And people that look at you, they may not be able to know what's actually going on with you, but they won't know if you don't start talking about it and start sharing how God has brought you through whatever it is that you have been dealing with all of these years. I hope I'm making sense. I hope that what I'm saying is grabbing your heart to the point where you are thinking that, God, I need to start. And probably God may have been tugging on your heart this whole time for a number of years for you to start sharing your story and start talking about the ailment, to stop concealing it and make it known. And when you make it known, that's when God will begin to open up doors. Have a wonderful day. I love you, and know that God created you to be you, nothing more, nothing less.